Welcome everyone to our Braintrust series at PeaceRise. My name is Jeremy Fritzand, co-organizer of PeaceRise and the Innovation Challenge. PeaceRise is a vibrant community of peace partners dedicated to driving innovation for peace. This community and innovation challenge is an initiative of Alloy Growth Lab, a top 10 business incubator based in Cincinnati, Ohio. These sessions are meant to connect and inspire participants of the Innovation Challenge and share knowledge from subject matter experts in their respective fields. The format of the session will be a brief introduction, followed by a presentation, and then opening up to Q&A. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will announce them at the end of the presentation. Today, it's my pleasure and distinct honor to introduce you to visionary founders of SocialTech Lab, Burak Douluay and Stavrou. These remarkable individuals are at the forefront of the PeaceTech revolution, dedicated to harnessing the power of technology and innovation to foster peace, prosperity, and resilience in fragile regions around the globe. Through their pioneering work, Burak and Steven have created vibrant ecosystems that empower local entrepreneurs to thrive, driving economic growth and social progress in areas challenged by instability and conflict. Their multifaceted platforms provide transformative digital tools and physical resources, enabling changemakers to navigate and succeed in even the most demanding environments. A testament to their groundbreaking efforts is The Base by CyprusInno, located in the UN buffer zone in Nicosia, Cyprus. This social impact generator is a unique fusion of a co-working space, accelerator incubator, innovation center, and multimedia studio, serving as a beacon of hope and innovation in the last divided capital in Europe. Their work has been recognized with prestigious awards such as the UN SDG Global Action Award and the Peace in Cyprus Stelios Bi-Communal Awards for Business Cooperation, and the Commonwealth Innovation Award for Sustainable Development. They have also been part of esteemed programs like the UN Young Leaders Program, the Muhammad Yunus Y&Y Fellowship, and the Obama Foundation Leaders Europe Program. As we look forward to their presentation, let us be inspired by their unwavering commitment to collaborative entrepreneurship, their efforts to break down barriers, connect entrepreneurs, and equip young innovators with the necessary tools for success, all while fostering a society that values innovation and peace. Please join me in welcoming Burak Douluay and Stephen W. Stavrou.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was quite the intro. I'm not sure what else we have to say after that one. I appreciate you getting through some of the tough names and names of cities and everything like that. But thank you for the very comprehensive intro, but also for the invitation. We're really excited to be here. We're really excited to be part of the PeaceRise community, and we're really thankful to you and the team for making the brave effort of bringing the global community of PeaceTech and peace innovation together, which is something that we had discussed in our intro chat with you, was something we felt we needed and we felt was lacking from the global ecosystem, was this connectivity and a platform where we could share experiences and views. So excited to be here and excited to tell everybody a bit more about what we do at SocialTech Lab, what we value, what our goals are, what our vision is, and what we've accomplished to date. And we're going to split this one up. I'll kick it off with some of the foundations and the groundwork of what we believe in and what we've tried to build over the years. And then Burak will take us into what we've actually built, and also some of our plans for the future and some success stories from some of the work that we've done. So if you'll allow me a second to share my screen. It says someone else is sharing.
Let me see here.
I'm going to make an effort to share directly from Canva.
Okay, I just added you as host. Should give you sharing privileges.
Perfect. Okay, it does. Hopefully you can see this screen, and I'm going to make it full screen. Perfect. All right, we'll go right into it then. So as Jeremy mentioned in our intro, we're the co-founders of SocialTech Lab. And what we see a SocialTech Lab being is peace innovation in action. This is a lot of years of trial and error, of testing out new methodologies and new innovative approaches to peace building that we weren't sure could work, would work, but have. And still, this is just the beginning of a journey where we're exploring different tools and also different programs that could contribute to a more peaceful and prosperous world. Starting, of course, with our small but mighty local context of the divided island of Cyprus, which we'll get to in a bit. But at SocialTech Lab, we're focused on building the next wave of PeaceTech innovations and empowering resilient entrepreneurship, what we call, in fragile contexts or conflict-affected regions around the world. And what we've really been focused on over the past nearly 8 years now is harnessing the power of technological innovation to create ecosystems that foster another thing we call collaborative entrepreneurship, and we'll explain what that means and why that's important to us in regions affected by instability. Before we jump into our model and the solution and what we actually do, want to just zoom out quite a bit. And the point here isn't to be grim or to set really a grim stage, but to talk about kind of where the ideas of using more innovative methodologies for peace building and conflict resolution came into our minds. What we do know is that over the past few years, maybe even many years, the average levels of global peacefulness have declined, and we've seen a rise in the number of violent conflicts throughout the world. We can just look at the past year or two and see that frozen conflicts are thawing in regions throughout the world and causing global impact. The billions of lives that are affected by conflict globally is one side of the spectrum, but there's also significant economic impact of conflict. We have a figure here that's at 14 trillion. But if we dig down deeper into the roots of or the links between conflict and economics, what we found and what we see, but it's very interesting and is the premise of our work. And that is that there is a strong link between economics and peace. There's a strong link between business, economics, and conflict. In conflict regions, in areas that have low levels of economic freedom, they are more susceptible to conflict. And in conflict regions around the world, we see characteristics and signals such as high levels of unemployment, particularly amongst youth, which could lead to more violence, more extremism, or more instability. And so this link between economics and conflict, business and positive peace is an area that we took great interest in and where we wanted to really see how it could impact or make a change in the division in Cyprus, which is the perspective that we're coming from. And so this is where we found our gap, where we found that there was a lack of innovation in current peace building mechanisms that were being used in certain conflict regions, particularly in our own specific region of Cyprus, where we saw a little more traditional peace building mechanisms in place, where after 50 years of division, people were sort of burnt out by efforts to build peace, to bring communities together. And we saw this lack of innovation hindering the effectiveness of efforts, but also it not being able to really address how complex conflicts can be and how conflicts can evolve over time. And so we saw a need for tools or approaches that were not just innovative, but adaptable, that were coordinated, that could be more localized, and that also focused a little more strongly on social and environmental impact. And this is where our model was born. And I promise this is the last piece of the theoretical stuff before we show it really in action. But SocialTech Lab and the components of SocialTech Lab come together through about 6 different pillars, I would say. The first is we do research continuously to find out what the needs of our communities are, our divided communities, everyone across our communities. We do capacity building to upskill. We make recommendations on policy. We develop digital and launch digital tools. We create, customize, and implement life programs, especially in the startup sphere, venture builders, accelerators, hackathons, and so on, which you'll see in a bit. And we also launch and manage physical spaces to bring people together. And the link of all these pillars allows us, in what we've seen in our work, to contribute to sustainable peace, to have social impact, and also to create and contribute to economic development. And so this is our model in action, and this is how we utilize entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology to build what we call positive peace. And this is actually a defined term of peace. Before we bring you to our local context of Cyprus, and I hand it over to Burak to talk more about some of the hands-on work we've done, just wanted to explain a little bit more about what we mean by collaborative entrepreneurship, especially in the context of peace, because this term is really, really important to us. Collaborative entrepreneurship, especially coming from conflict-affected regions or areas where there's divided communities, allows us to bring together people from different demographics, different racial, religious backgrounds, genders, ideologies, in order to have really nice diversity of thought. And this is a great breeding ground for innovation. And we see wonderful ideas and startups pop out of socially inclusive programs that bring a lot of different people together, especially from divided communities, to solve common challenges. In that, we also see strength in numbers, because we're bringing more than just who we know to the table. We have more people available to solve the challenges we face, and we improve our understanding of the problem because we bring together different groups of people who understand and are affected by the problem differently. And this is really important also for conflict regions. In conflict areas, people are affected by the conflict in different ways. And so if we bring them together, we improve our overall understanding of what's going on, and we can help catalyze solutions. And this allows us to naturally, in the next part of this, overcome barriers and gaps by cutting across sectors and groups. And we expand our networks, particularly from a divided island, which we'll talk about in a second. By kind of reaching across our own borders, we open ourselves up to a whole other world. And that's really important, especially in our small context. And it allows us to leverage technology to accelerate impact. Now, that's collaborative entrepreneurship as a whole. That's bringing innovators and entrepreneurs and startups and aspiring young entrepreneurs together to build great things together and solve their local challenges. But on the individual level, we find that the entrepreneur themselves is a fantastic peace builder. And this is something from the words of a great mentor and someone who we look up to, Stephen Koltai, said that entrepreneurs are like-minded folks. They get along, they value productivity and growth over their differences, and they're a bridge class of people. It makes them really unique and really natural peacemakers. So this brings us to Cyprus, which is where we come from. And so is naturally the vision of SocialTech Lab was born out of our own passion and desire to find new ways to contribute to our own conflict. I want to just set the stage for Cyprus as we talk about our work, because it's a complex issue, and it's a conflict and division that not many people know about. I'm going to do this just to set the stage. I'm not going to go into the history because it's long, it's complex, and I'll probably get in trouble somewhere along the way. So I'll just focus on what's going on today, which is that Cyprus is an island nation that's been divided since 1974, where we've hit our 50-year anniversary this year, between a Turkish Cypriot or Turkish-speaking Cypriot community in the north and a Greek Cypriot or Greek-speaking Cypriot community in the south. And in the middle there, where you see the green line, is an actual green line. It's called the Green Line. It's the buffer zone between both sides, and it's where the UN is and where the UN peacekeeping forces are set up. So this is the local context today. Along that green line are certain checkpoints that would allow us to actually cross into into the other communities. And these were set up around 2003, 2004, when the South, the Republic of Cyprus, the Greek Cypriot community joined the European Union. And this buffer zone is where we do a lot of our work. And it's where we started. So I'll take you back to the birth of SocialTech Lab, which actually started as a local brand called CyprusInno in 2016. We launched what was the first platform that connected entrepreneurs around the island of Cyprus. We wanted to think about ways we can connect Greek and Turkish Cypriot entrepreneurs using technology. And to test that out before we actually got people meeting together across the two sides. And so we built CyprusInno, which was an online platform that created a community for entrepreneurs to find each other, connect with each other, and also offer them resources. We built e-learning labs with entrepreneurial skill building courses. We developed maps of startups. We had a jobs board. We had events, all to create what we called an intercommunal entrepreneurial ecosystem in Cyprus to bring both communities and both sides together. And since then, that platform grew to over 5,000 members. We expanded beyond that platform after we noticed the interest and the increase in members and subscribers, and we kind of branched out to do physical programming, and we did a lot of networking events, startup networking events, weekend boot camps and trainings, startup mentorship programs, all in this UN buffer zone where both of our communities can come to meet. And this led to a lot of participants, many intercommunal partnerships, and hundreds of hours of startup mentorship, which I would say brings us to a pivotal moment in around 2020, where I'll hand this over to Burak to talk about kind of how things really changed for us after this initial platform and these initial programs, and where we've gone since then.
Thank you. Thank you, Steven. Moving from there, from the theory to testing the idea, first digitally and through events at other spaces, we saw the need of creating a physical space for us because we saw there was a lot of demand, and we thought we could maximize the impact if we have our own space. So in 2020, it's 2021 here, but we took the keys to the space in 2020 through with the help of UNFICYP, the Civil Affairs Peacekeeping Forces in Cyprus, and we turned the military container into what we call the actual social impact generator, and we turned it into a co-working space, innovation center, which has a meeting room, a podcasting studio, because it was used as a community studio. We preserved that and kept it for the community and the rest of the teams when they come to do recording. And then we've been hosting our events there for since then. We can give you a bit more information about the rooms. You can see some pictures here from the studio, what it looks like. But in the beginning, it was like this. It was fully empty. So we got the keys in COVID. We got the keys, and in a week, they told us we cannot go out. In Cyprus, we had like a full lockdown. So you have to text to go out. So we're texting that we're going to work. So Steven and I would go there and start building things. So we used pallets from the military and other places where we found, and we built a stage. We took some wood, we did some chopping, cutting, fixing. We built some library. And then we used some local artists, local designers, local producers to build tables, etc. And then we built everything with our savings, which costed around 5,000 euros back in the day to have an MVP to start running the space. This is what it looks like on paper. So when you enter the building, we have kitchen and accessible rooms outside. I won't go into much detail in this, but you can also see that it's a big container, around 200 meters square. I don't know how many foot square that comes up to, but it's 200 meters squares approximately, which allows us to host around 40 to 50 people events, cohorts of 20 to 30 people for venture builders, which they can also use the Idea Lounge, conference room, which is very helpful. Yes, and these are some blurbs from each room. On the left corner, you can see the studio is a plug and play studio, the stage, the co-working table, the idea room, etc. And some of the sample activities that we hosted this year, the ones on the left, we had a venture builder with around 20 teams that, with the help of UNDP, that we managed for UNDP, that we had teams that had ideas to solve social and environmental challenges. And we had this team for around 3 to 4 months, including mentorship. And we helped them to build their MVPs, and then they pitched. And 2 teams have got 25,000 euros in funding to create their first prototypes. So it's still in progress, and we will see the outcomes of that towards summer. If you follow us on social media, you'll be able to see the outcomes. One of the winning teams is producing a vegan leather using the prickly pear, which is, you can find a lot of them in Cyprus. They came up with a formula, and they actually built in the pitch day, which was not required, but they built and they actually brought the actual prototype. I touched it. It really, I think it could really work. It's a very good material. And the second one produces countertops for commercial use using olive pits that are left in the olive mills that they make olive oils. So that there were two material scientist groups focused on material innovation that built this to preserve environmental stuff. And then we have hackathons. Before that, we did a hackathon again with UNDP on focusing on food waste. We are planning, it was postponed, but we're planning a regional hackathon on AA and ML with Microsoft, with people coming from greater Middle Eastern area. And it had to be postponed because of the situation happening in Israel and Palestine right now. We did many startup boot camps, many accelerators, focusing on solving SDGs. These are some of the sample activities that we did in the last 2 years, mainly. Some of the success stories that come out of this, this is how we measure success, usually. Awards are nice, they're fancy, but what we really work for is these goals that you can see here. One of them is that Center for Social Innovation and GigaM, two organizations, one from the Turkish Cypriot community, one from the Greek Cypriot community, they came together with the knowledge exchange. They collaborated on a proposal, and it ended up with a successful project that received 240,000 funding to build the first accelerator in the Turkish Cypriot community. The other one is an olive oil company that launched through our events. It's a fully island-wide company that collects olives all around the island, and then they produce olive oil, and then they ship to US, and they're nationwide in Whole Foods all around US right now. Another one was a knowledge exchange, is Axis and Denge. They're two business consultants that they came together and promoted each other's services and their subject matter expertise to each other's customers. For those who don't know, or if you're not aware of it, in Cyprus, to do trade across the Green Line, there's specific regulations that regulate that. For example, for goods, you need to go from specific licensing, and then to get specific papers to cross it, etc. And sometimes there are costs that is not easy. So we see all of these collaborations that happen very valuable if they happen. And the other metric for us is how many people meet somebody for the first time from another community and started dialogue, or they came to the buffer zone for the first time. For us, around 40% of our participants we see is their first time in the buffer zone, but they're meeting someone from the other community. And 60% says that it's the first time they're attending an intercommunal bi-communal program. Yes, these are the teams I've just mentioned, but highlights on these teams. The first one is Pit2Table, left top corner, that was doing the vegan leather using prickly pear. The ones on the right are the team that doing the Pit2Table. And then the top group is the Food Hub group that is addressing food waste by collecting it. And recently, through our network, they collaborated with one of our caterers, which knows the market very well. They introduced them to a supplier that they committed to give them around €500,000 worth of goods that they throw every year to process, either to resell at a low cost, to save and then reinvest into their cause, or give it to people in need that they don't have the money to sustain. So they'll be creating a system that will help them to collect all this food before it expires or it's waste, and then redistribute it to the community. And this is us, the founding team. The video
People
is
usually
quick,
start with the team, but we end with the team.
The article there, actually, Steven and I, we met back in 2016, August. We were both working on similar ideas, and Steven was looking at what's in the Turkish Cypriot community, because he was here doing his internship in the resort, and then he ended up finding me on 15th page of Google somewhere, an article from a startup community that I was trying to build. And then he sends this long email to me, like, I have the same idea. We're very similar, we're working on the same mission, we should get together. And then back in the day, there was Skype. We didn't have Zoom. We got on Skype and we built, the CyprusInno platform was built fully digital because Steven was based in New York that time. I was in Cyprus. So that it was a good thing because he was working when I was sleeping and I was working when he was sleeping. So it felt like we had a team of 50 when we first started. We were working 24 hours. And then the article there is we actually planned an event, our first event in December 2016 in the buffer zone. And that's one day before the event, they wanted to interview us. So actually that's the first time we saw each other in person, not on the screen. And the 23andMe screenshot there is that after like 2 years after that, in 2018 or 2020, for me, it's like BC, AC, but before COVID, after COVID. It was before COVID. So I go to New York and I do this 23andMe test at Steven's house. And then the results come and I log in and I said, okay, let me just zoom in to see which cousins I have here and relatives in Long Island. So maybe you know them. And then his father pops up. So it ends up with fifth cousin with Steven's father. So we're sixth cousin with him. So yeah, we ended up also being genetically related to each other. But yeah.
Which just shows that, even though we come from communities that have been divided for 50 years, Burak from the Turkish community, myself from the Greek Cypriot community, there's many things that bring us together. Building something like SocialTech Lab itself for us is our model in action. We both came together across the situation to do that. And this is our journey, and we can achieve amazing things when we work together and do that. But we're connected in much deeper ways than just work. And that the funny 23andMe and being distantly related is one of those moments where we laugh and say, our island is a little too small and too connected to be divided for so long. So yeah, that's our journey, and thank you for listening, and we're happy to answer any questions or any ideas anyone might have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephen and Burak. We'll open it up now for questions. If anybody has a question, you can use the raise hand icon or enter them into the chat. We've got a question from Gabe Kaufman.
Yeah, so it seems like you guys have, a really good thing going and it's working really well. Do you have a plan on how to sustain it, when maybe you work on something else, or like for the long term? Because you've said it's been 50 years of a divided nation. Being able to work on something for 50 years is a pretty big task. So I guess the question just is, how do you sustain it?
Yeah, I think there's like a few different ways to look at it. The first is what we've been actually focused on for the past year or two now, which is growing our own team. So it's not just us. Last year we grew to around eight people, and we're looking to grow beyond that this year. And building our team and building the next group of leaders to take these initiatives forward is one. The other is replicating and expanding beyond Cyprus, which is something we also started to do this year, a bit slowly, but we've started to engage with more groups from Israel and Palestine, NGOs that are working with Israelis and Palestinians, focused on tech, focused on entrepreneurship, hosting some activities in Cyprus because of the current situation, but also looking at partners in the Balkans and in other conflict-affected areas where our model and our expertise can support their work on the ground. That's the second. And then the third, from my side, would be just encouraging other collaborations like ours through our work, whether they're business collaborations or other friendships, in order to create, I would say, a long-term pipeline of confidence building and trust building and relationship building amongst our community, so that at least at the community level, we have bridges and connectivity, even if at a political level things are stuck and they go on forever. I don't know, Burak, if you had any other thoughts as well.
Oh, I agree also. Like, our work fully focuses on creating either startup support, entrepreneurship support, helping them create new solutions. So I hope we'll succeed to achieve peace, but even if we do that, our work will still be necessary. We pivot every couple of years because when we mentioned the research in the beginning, we check data, and every year we'll change it. Like first 4 years we'll be doing mentorship, and now we saw there's more hands-on need on other type of programs, so we moved into venture builders. So sustaining the organization, I think the way we're building the team, the different expertise and the knowledge that we're gathering, there will be always something to do. Hopefully, and that's a good thing. The more we succeed, that means that we'll be doing more advanced programs. We'll start taking them out of the buffer zone, and now we're focusing on providing this knowledge also at the regional level. So there's unfortunately, but fortunately, there's a lot of work to do. As long as there's conflict, there's work to do, which is good and bad.
Thank you for the question, and thanks for the response. We'll go over to John Martis.
Hey, great presentation, Stephen and Burak. Appreciate it. Love the work you're doing. Couple questions for you. Number one is what is currently the biggest challenge you are facing? And number two is what are you most excited about going forward and why?
Burak, I think you should take the challenge one, and then I'll take the excited one. I think you like talking about the challenges.
Well, I think we're getting addicted to them because the challenges,
they pop up so much.
Yes, and I think we're becoming masochists. We're enjoying the challenges coming up and solving them. It's became part of a thing. In the beginning, the biggest challenge for us was registering. The simplest thing was registering an organization. We were 50-50 shareholders. It was challenging. They wouldn't accept. We had to push. We had to dress up. One day we suited up and went to the company of registrars and asked about the case. They thought we were lawyers, so they told us what's the issue, and we're like, hey, it's us. Tell us. And we had to do a lot of things to solve this type of things. It's uncertainty sometimes. The political climate, you don't know what's going to happen. That's another challenge. Working on the buffer zone is, for example, before our space allows us, for example, to have people from any community, not only Turkish or Greek Cypriots, but we also host people from the Turkish Cypriot community that are third country nationals that they cannot cross to the Republic, but they could come to the buffer zone. Research development, we heard that they are not allowing anybody cross to the buffer zone who cannot cross to the Republic because there were cases where they would come and seek asylum. So we need to adapt to these type of things, or we had to cancel the hackathon we were planning with people coming from the West Bank because of what happened, and now we're facing issues with other cohorts that there are no visas. This type of things. I don't think like business-related challenges they happen. They're fun to solve, but the hard barriers are the ones that hit us, the political ones that we don't have a much say in, and we just need to quickly adapt, either go digital or postpone, which sometimes means loads of funding and stuff.
Thank you.
And I think to answer the second part of your question, I think those challenges create opportunities that we're really excited about. So like one of the things we use to get around some of the more physical challenges of the space or the location or the region is how do we leverage digital tools to help us do so, which is something that we've been working on over the past few years, and we're excited to enhance that now with the push for AI and AI's role potentially in peace building and in assisting us to build tools that make use of information locally to help our communities engage more. So I think that would be one thing that's exciting for us.
Thanks again. And just a quick follow-up. Curious if any of the programming that you spoke of that got delayed, do you have any plans to put it as a virtual programming or any ways to connect over borders in the meantime?
We're still pushing for the physical in-person connectivity. We're facing some challenges potentially with with visas and with other things, because conflict in the region is still ongoing. So we're making one additional push to bring it together physical in Cyprus, and then we'll see from there whether we expand it out to more like virtual platforms to exchange, and with the hopes that maybe in the near future we can bring people back together.
Awesome. Any other questions out there?
Yeah, let's see. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. A question on my own end. When it comes for you guys promoting collaboration, partnership with communities where they might have their own stereotypical assumptions or presumptions about individuals, right? Whether it's through a conflict zone, right? Whether it's in Cyprus itself, are there certain tricks or pursuits that you guys find, or like interactions that really help break down those barriers and promote that dialogue, where you see two companies or groups that can really build something together?
Yeah, definitely. It's the way we see it, and we usually summarize it, is needs over interests. And this is something we saw in the first networking event we did in December 2016. Now the article was there. So we saw that people would come in. I think it was the first business networking event in the buffer zone. We had 15 people, 17 people. That was a number of people that we were very happy to have. And they came in, people directly to their own community, speaking in their own language. And one thing we did was we did a circle. Having a low amount of participants helped that. And we said, just your name and what you do. And they did a round, and you would see, I'm an investor, I'm an engineer, I'm a consultant, I'm this, I'm that. And after that, it was that, I'm looking for a consultant. I'm looking for a software developer. And everything was strictly based on business. So over the years, we see that when we do, that's why the research part is very important. We see what people need, and you would bring them a speaker, specific training, a specific support program that will help them succeed in their business, or they're looking for that opportunity. And also linking this to the previous topic on challenge, why we push for physical. The magic doesn't happen during the program. The magic will happen during the break when they're sharing a cigarette outside. Or it would happen when you go for a dinner at night, or having a beer or discussion over wine, where the discussion happens. So that's why we're pushing for physical, and it happens naturally. We don't force it. We just create the correct environment where somebody has something to benefit, and then the rest just happens naturally.
Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I'll add one thing to what Burak said to answer your question as well, because it reminded me of another thing that we did early on, which is that after about a year or two, we made a conscious decision to actually remove labels of peace or intercommunal or bicommunal from our programming, because we felt that it restricted the pool of individuals who were willing to come out to engage with people who were different from them. And so we said, we're not doing an intercommunal startup mentorship program. We're doing a startup mentorship program. We're not doing an intercommunal startup business and networking event. We're doing a startup networking event. And so that it was startup innovation programming, but it was open to all communities, all people from all different backgrounds, and then helped really break down some barriers for us. Now, the caveat there is that we're able to do some of those riskier things because we're in a frozen conflict that's relatively stable and then has some connectivity with checkpoints, and we're able to bring people together and experiment new things. In a more active and potentially more violent conflict, we may see a more emphasis on dialogue at the beginning. Let's get some thoughts and perspectives out of the way, and then move into some of the tools and things like that. It happens even in our own programs. We had an experience in our venture builder where during one of the panel sessions, there was an open discussion. We got different groups started discussing heavily into the, more of the political situation, more about what they felt from a civil society perspective. And we veered way off the technology development that we were talking about. But it was important to just say it, get it out there, hear each other, and then we brought it back to solutioning. Okay, we understand where everyone's coming from. We understand people are experiencing the problem in a different way. Now let's focus on what we're here for, which is the solutions that we're developing to solve the challenges that we face together. And it reframes the room so we get right back into working together. Just
wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, no, that was fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Gabe, another question?
Yeah, so something kind of just came to mind. How is there not like a larger sort of like governmental organization that does something like this, or like a branch of the UN that focuses on peace building in ways like this? Because it seems like if it's such sort of like a high ROI, lever, literally building peace, that would mitigate all the costs of the buffer zone that they have to upkeep. It seems like it's kind of crazy that it's not already happening. So like, are there other organizations that are sort of larger that have attempted things like this?
It's a great question. There is focus on business collaborations as a pillar of the peacemaking process in Cyprus. So I would say there's not like a established organization like us on the public or governmental or intergovernmental level, but the UN does do a really good job of empowering organizations like ours or creating work streams where they engage with civil society in certain pillars. And one of those is innovation, entrepreneurship, and economics. And in Cyprus specifically, also there are various technical committees. These are committees that are comprised of representatives from the Greek and Turkish Cypriot communities that are tasked to come together and touch base on and speak about and work out certain issues. So there's a technical committee on health, which was very critical during the time of the pandemic. So we can work together across the island to solve certain issues that were related to the pandemic. There's a technical committee on environment, on gender. There's also a technical committee on economics. And so it is a part of the process and the discussion. But I think, and Burak maybe would have some thoughts on this as well, maybe better than mine, but I think it's too complex to formalize it on like a governmental level because of the situation, because of the Green Line, because there's different parties involved, because of the EU. So it'd be really complicated to create like a central body, I would say.
I will agree, and just to add, I think the reason we succeeded was because we were apolitical. We also individuals, like we're not very, we want to bring everybody together, but we don't show any strong political attachment to any party or etc. So being very neutral helps, and big organizations like that, they're already labeled or named, and when these initiatives come from them, people are a bit hesitant to join. So it has its pros and cons. Or my second thought is focus. When you look at our focus is on entrepreneurship and economy. They're big, like intergovernmental organizations that focus only on environment, for example. That helps, but you don't see enough grassroots participation in those levels of organization. So I think the magic is the balance between when you have enough push from all levels, so things move in harmony.
Awesome, thank you. I have a question here about, folks that have an idea for, a PeaceTech solution, but, don't know where to start. What advice would you give, folks new to the field? It's relevant for this innovation challenge that we're offering. A lot of people, aren't familiar with the field, but maybe they have an idea for an app or a conflict resolution framework. Where do you suggest that they get started?
Good question. I'm thinking back to some of our own programs and where we get people started. Well, the first is that when we think of PeaceTech, we don't only think about solutions that are specifically built to resolve conflict or contribute to like security, or that's one part of PeaceTech, but we also see PeaceTech being solutions that tackle maybe threats to democracy, which we see as a destabilizing factor that if what's dealt with could lead to positive peace or contributes to unemployment or contributes to maybe tech solutions that tackle environmental challenges, maybe in areas where the environment is causing issues with resources, is leading to conflict. So there's many ways that you can get to PeaceTech. So one thing is to kind of broaden the mindset and horizons. But I'm thinking, and Burak, I'm thinking back to the venture builder. We started with a session, and we like to do this, and maybe this is where we would recommend beginning. We start with a session called Deep Listening and Sense Making. and this is a practice of really understanding and listening to your beneficiaries and to your stakeholders in order to get a really, really comprehensive look at the problem so that you can build a solution for everyone and that could help everyone. And we look at this from different angles. We look at this from talking about beneficiaries who will ultimately benefit from the product, not just the customers who would buy it. And then also potentially customers and stakeholders who would either you would partner with or you would sell to. That's what first came to my mind. Burak, was that session that we did, which was really good and probably something that we focus on.
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind as well. It's neat, and the reason I'm saying it also is because of our experience. 8 years, you're only seeing ideas that worked. Probably we have double of all of these ideas that we tried and didn't work throughout the process of how we were trying to. So is there a real need, and is it the correct time to do it? For example, it's very, very hard. It's very, very challenging. Like I sit down and thinking what we can do where there's armed conflict is limited because there's crisis. You know, there's 5 different stages of conflict. Usually that's how they classify it. The beginning is the quiet one. People are not much aware of it. Second is when it starts and people feel it. Third is a crisis where I think there's very limited things to do. And then fourth is after to negotiate or continue. And fifth is the resolution to heal what happened. And I think where you can focus is the first 2 and the last 2. The middle, you just try to help whatever you can, but you can focus on prevention and fixing. And this is not only armed conflict, as Steven said, it can be environmental issues. It can be health, giving people access to health and things like that. So I would say find the need and think like a business because you need to sustain it. People think that if you're doing social good, you should not make money. You need to sustain it. Otherwise, you're just going to perish. You will do something cool, very nice, and then you will benefit 5 people, and then you won't be able to help the next 5 that need it. So you need to find a sustainable model that will help you keep pushing that impact.
Awesome. Great insights. Thank you. I think we have time for another question or two. If anybody out there would like to pose another question for Steven or Burak. All right. Well, thank you so much, Steven and Burak, for sharing about your work at SocialTech Lab. And thanks everybody for joining the session today. Don't forget, the conversation doesn't end here. We invite you to tune into our next session tomorrow at 12 p.m. EST with Kevin McGrew, founder of EverSocial. Stay tuned for more details and make sure to mark your calendars. Thank you everybody for joining.